start by reciting the four great Bodhisattva vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are countless. We vow to see through them all. Opportunities to awaken are infinite. We vow to embrace them all. The Buddha way is endless. We vow to embody it. So we shall begin in our customary way with 15 minutes of seated meditation. We'll recite the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. And let me apologize in advance because the pollen has started flying here in Western Mass, so if I'm a little sniffly tonight, you have my regrets. Expectations are the seeds of resentments. Haven't sprouted yet. To quote something I heard recently, I don't even know what my expectations are until they haven't been met. Now, we all have expectations. We all have expectations about our practice, which is what this talk will involve. We have expectations about a lot of other things that are not applicable to this setting right here. So let's talk about those expectations on our practice. Now, no one whose face I can see right here lives in a temple. We all have day gigs or school or whatever it might be. And those are the kind of thing that will occasionally prevent us from practicing as hard as we'd like to. There are hindrances to our practice that we just, for practical reasons, are unable to avoid. There's a lot of times, however, that we expect that we're practicing really, really hard. And if we don't expect that we are practicing really, really hard, we expect that we should be. What matters is how we're practicing right here, right now. At this given moment, we are all practicing as hard as we possibly can. And this moment too. And this one. For right now, right here, this is as good as it gets. And right now, none of us have really any expectations about it because we're just doing it. We're not necessarily thinking about doing it. We're just doing it intuitively, before any thought is required. We're just practicing. And we'd like to think that, yeah, at my day job and school and when I'm having dinner and, when I'm just laying around watching TV, I'm practicing there too. I take my Zen with me everywhere I go. And while that may be an expectation that we put on ourselves, I think in reality we may fall a little short of that. And that's okay. We try and take the proverbial cushion with us wherever we're going. We try and apply that Huadu to everything. We try and hang on to it, keep it right in our heart, and ask, what is this? What is this? What is this? As much as we possibly can, except for the fact that sometimes you just gotta send that email and somebody wants to know what that is, and it isn't the Huadu that they're referring to. Sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. even though we might have expectations that would be otherwise. But what's the secret of Zen practice? Accepting reality for what it is, right here, right now, from moment to moment. So right there in those email moments, it's an email moment. We just email. If it's the cooking moment, we fully cook. And that's our practice. And we don't even necessarily have to think about it as, oh, I'm frying this egg really mindfully. This is my practice right now. When you do it fully, whatever it might be. Experience the moment you're in, and that becomes your practice. And there's no expectation required. There's no exterior factors involved. You know deep down, if you're just kind of slacking and half-heartedly cooking that thing on the stove, and mind just sort of wanders, and it's like, yeah, what am I going to watch on TV tonight? I don't know. Oh, damn, that thing burned. Not being mindful, not real intense practice at that moment. So we look at that, we bring ourselves back in and crack another egg in the pan and do our best to fry that egg very mindfully in that moment, here and now. And if you want it sunny side up, maybe you can even be so mindful that when you take it out of the pan, the yolk doesn't even break. Another expectation, perhaps, but not an important one. What brought this all on, you may wonder where this was coming from, and I'll tell you. It came from a place because I remembered hearing the phrase, practice as if your hair is on fire. And that's sort of a lofty expectation, right? We can practice as if our hair is on fire without being really manic about it. Our hair being on fire could be, mindfully frying the egg or mindfully sending that email or doing something else fully in that moment. But I got curious. I was saying to myself, is that a Dogen thing, practicing as if your hair's on fire? Where did this actually come from? And I found it, thanks to the wonderful technology of search engines. So I'm going to read a wee thing for you here. So that pure practice and the way coincide, how should we proceed? Proceed with the mind which neither grasps nor rejects, the mind unconcerned with name or gain. Do not practice Buddha Dharma with the thought that it is of any benefit to others. Clearly, Buddha Dharma is not practiced for one's own sake, and even less for the sake of fame and profit. Just for the sake of Buddha Dharma should you practice it. Students, do not practice Buddha Dharma for your own sake. Do not practice Buddha Dharma for name and gain. Do not practice Buddha Dharma for attaining miraculous effects. Excuse me. Practice Buddha Dharma solely for the sake of the Buddha Dharma. This is the way. Skipping down a little bit. An energetic mendicant should examine the aggregates like this, with situational awareness and mindfulness, whether by day or by night. They should give up all fetters and make a refuge for themselves. They should live as if their head was on fire, aspiring to the imperishable state. Thus, a monk, persistence around, should view the aggregates by day and night, mindful, alert, should discard all fetters, should make himself his own refuge, should live as if his head were on fire in the hopes of the state of no falling away. And there were a couple of translations in there from Bhikkhu Sujato and Thanissaro Bhikkhu, and that's of the Phena Sutta, aka the Foam Sutta. And if you haven't read the Foam Sutta, I highly recommend it, because not only does it have the bit about practicing as if your hair is on fire in it, but it also is the first instance I'm aware of where form, feeling, perception, impulses, and consciousness are marked as characterized excuse me, by shunyata. This idea that, emptiness is like just a Mahayana thing is not really the case. So anyway, that's an aside. That's my soapbox for the evening, those two sentences. But practicing as if your hair is on fire. How do you do it? Whatever it is you're doing, do it 100% at that moment. Cast away those fetters. Cast away the resentments that are the result of expectations. Cast away the expectations. And as Zen Master Sung San was so fond of saying, just do it. All right, we'll go back and have another period of seated meditation for the prescribed 15 minutes. Time to chant the Heart Sutra. Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajnaparamita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is saved from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness, no form, no feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on Prajnaparamita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on Prajnaparamita and attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajnaparamita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the Prajnaparamita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. It's time for us to do our personal dedications of merit. I have a couple of names that I'll put in, and I'll leave some space for you to add your own. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry, and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate this service to Laura Haas Knox, Mrs. Guy. Anyone that you would care to add?
Sarah.
Iris McDonald.
I just
Elaine
wanted to.
Sue.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Elaine Sue.
I just wanted to let you know that Laura Hasnox passed away last week.
Yeah.
One more for Comrade Cooper, a friend of ours who died volunteering in Ukraine to save lives in the wartime.
Bailey and Joanne Sheridan. Also, all the victims of senseless shootings and mass murdering everywhere.
All beings in the 10 directions, subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All beings in the 10 directions, subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom,
Mahaprajna
Paramita. We'll do our faith and practice vow. I will never retreat and will be firm in my mind in this correct Dharma. I will escape from the samsaric cycle of birth and death and will definitely see my original face. I will be sure to inherit the life of insight of the Buddha and save all sentient beings. Hangdal?
Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. Birds and trees and stars and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We practice and recite this for all beings in grateful thanks to our many guides along the way.
Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature. Do not squander your time by night and day. And practice as if your hair were on fire. Easier said than done for others, okay? Yes. I'm going to extinguish some candles.